Today, we're going to be talking about a cozy cube, what it is, and then best practices for creating a cozy corner. So a cozy cube is a wooden structure. It's in the shape of a square, about 30 by 30 by 30 inches. And it's made of wood, and there are 3 circular openings on 3 of the sides of the cube for supervision and for children to enter and exit the cube, and then 1 solid side just for privacy for the child. And the cozy cube is meant for 1 child at a time to go in, and it's a place for them to relax, calm down, and self-regulate. It's a great addition for a cozy corner in a classroom. So a cozy cube or a cozy corner can be used for a child when they're feeling overstimulated or overwhelmed or having a hard time kind of sitting still or paying attention in class. It's a place for them to take a break from this kind of overwhelming stimulus and provide a more calming stimulus in their environment. It often includes things like comfortable blankets, soft pillows, and stuffed animals. You can bring in familiar pictures or like comforting pictures of cartoon characters or things that children like. It often also has just like calming colors. And you can also include fidgets or anything that would help a child just regulate and feel more calm. This is also a great tool to help kids build some self-regulation and some coping skills. It helps them identify when they're feeling overwhelmed and then kind of independently decide that they need to take a break from this stimulus, which is a great tool that they can bring on going forward in their life.
When you're setting up your cozy cube and your cozy corner, the first thing is finding the location. So making sure you find a nice corner space is really nice. That way it's just separate from all the activities happening in the room. It's nice when you're setting it up to have a sign on here saying quiet space, just to start defining those expectations and rules for the kids to follow. This is a spot, like we discussed, how it's going to help them with self-regulation and just calming down. So making sure the kiddos know they can't come and play in it or out of it at all times. It's strictly just a space to come and be calm, and to let your professors know before you go in it. That way they know that you're there. So when you're setting it up, you can have lots of really comforting material. So I do have a blanket here. And then they can set it up and use it however they like. But we just have today a couple blankets just to get those textures going on and some comfort. And then we also brought a pillow. Pillows can be good as well, especially if they feel like they need to lay down for a moment. And then anything that's really familiar for the kid. It could be a picture of a family member from home, their favorite cartoon, something that's a very calming and comforting visual might be helpful. Things also like fidgets are really great as well, just to help those kids regulate while they're in here. So just making sure they have those while they come into the cozy cube will be really beneficial.
So you can see when you're inside the cozy corner, it just feels like a calm, private space. There's different soft textures, like this pillow's textured, which could be really nice. There's a nice picture that could be comforting for a child if it was a family member or somebody they knew. You notice there's just not a lot of colors or extra stimulus. It's just kind of a calm, quiet space, and that's kind of the purpose of the corner.
So setting up those expectations when kiddos are entering and exit the corner is going to be really important. And so before kiddos enter the cozy cube, they should let their teacher know. That way the teacher first and foremost knows where they are, and then they can keep track of when they need to come out of the cozy cube. So depending on the classroom, what's happening in the space, teachers might vary in the time they might allow the kiddo to be in the cozy cube. 5 minutes or so you might see typically, but it's just going to depend on the teacher and what's happening in the space. And then while the kiddo's in here, once he's ready to leave, just to let the teacher know. And again, if his time's up, the teacher will let them know as well. But that way too, again, we just know where the kiddos are at all times. We know for the other kids' expectation that they're not to disturb the kiddo while they're in there and that it is occupied.
Something else to note with the cozy corner is that in the cube is when you first get it into your classroom, there's going to be a lot of initial excitement from the kids. They're going to want to explore it and maybe crawl in it. So that's why it'll be really important to set expectations early on, and that initial excitement will eventually subside. And then the children will use the cozy corner as it's meant to be used for a quiet, calming space. So a couple of things to consider when you're setting up your cozy cube and introducing it to your classroom. One thing we've mentioned before, but I want to emphasize it, is that though the cozy corner is meant to be a private space, it's really important that there is supervision on the children, especially for certain age groups. It's just important that kids are still easy to access and just being seen the whole time that they're in the cozy corner. Another thing to consider is the transition out of the cozy corner could feel jarring for some children. So just making that transition as smooth as possible is really important. Teachers could implement like a 1-minute warning, just so the kid is expecting their time in the cozy corner to end, or a timer that has like a calming sound that goes off when it's time for the child to exit, just so they're indicated and that their time is up, and they can independently start making their way out of the cozy corner. Another thing we mentioned about the cozy corner is children can bring in personal items that feel comforting to them, like personal pictures or blankets. A helpful tool for the teachers might be printing out a list of things that the children are able to bring with them to school from home that are allowed in the cozy corner. That way the children just have some guidance about what they're allowed to have in the cozy corner, and those expectations are set. And then the corner can be more tailored to each individual child and more comforting for them. Okay, thank you so much for watching our video.
We really hope you have a great time with your cozy corner and cozy cube.